Welcome in to the Lions Den, special edition of the Lions Den. I should say special episode. Tom Hackett, Spencer Warne, as always. RSL General Manager Elliot Fall is with us. Mr. Fall, how are you?
I'm great. Happy to be here. Sitting, it's nice to break up. It's nice to break up the afternoon working from home by chatting with you blokes.
Well, we appreciate that. I will say the enthusiasm from your voice wasn't all that encouraging, was it?
Yeah. I honestly meant for it to be encouraging. Is blokes an inappropriate term, by the way? Is that something I shouldn't say?
No, that's absolutely fine. I mean,
I'm gonna rely on you guys to not get me in trouble there.
You need to say that in Soho in London, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh wait, speaking of London, you were just there before this whole pandemic started, right?
Who?
You, Elliot.
When was the last? I was in London in December. Yeah, actually.
And didn't you go to Anfield?
Yes. Yeah, but then I cleansed the palate by going to Old Trafford as well. So I did Anfield and Old Trafford on the same trip. I'm not sure many people are. I probably shouldn't say that publicly because most people wouldn't approve of that. But that actually brings me to a point. One thing. I mean, Spence, this whole thing you might be the most devastated person because of this, because it's the only thing that's going to keep Liverpool from winning the title, huh?
It's crazy. Like, so when it first went down and the league stopped, and I was like, come on. But now that it's so serious, I didn't realize how serious this was. Soccer's kind of gone out the window. Like, I cannot wait for it to get back. I am absolutely dying for it to get back. And I think most people are, because it's a release for everyone. But, geez, if I have to wait another year, I mean, I'll wait another year if it means that, we get over this crap. So, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I've waited 30 years.
I'm not trying to make light of the situation in the slightest, obviously. But it's more just a comment on, Liverpool. Yes. As you said, you guys have never won a Premier League title, and you're on the verge of it.
Yes, thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah. Talking of the Premier League title, back to Major League Soccer and your off season. So we had a couple of questions for you, really. And there's some Twitter questions that Tom will ask because they're on his feed and I can't bring that up on my phone, surely. But obviously there's the ESPN RSL bracket that Spence Checkets has got going on. Obviously there's the beloved RSL players. Mm-hmm. Who is your favorite RSL player of all time?
Oh, God. You know what? I'm honestly not doing this to dodge the question. But it's
you are though. So
but I'm not. Because I think there can't be one answer to that question. Okay. There are a handful of guys in the history of this club that have left indelible and long-lasting imprints on the trajectory of the club, and frankly, I think Spence really hit it out of the park on his top four, or in his four number one seeds there when he had Kyle Beckerman, of course, Javier Morales, Nick Raimondo, and Jason Kreis, and without any one of those people, you don't have RSL as we know RSL. And you don't have the heights that we've reached and the the sustained success that we've enjoyed without any one of them. Now, obviously, if you're talking just on field, Jason isn't in the same category as those other guys. But if you include obviously his impact as a head coach for many years and through a lot of the peaks of RSL, he belongs there as well. So.
You can also add Jason to the list because the early years of Real Salt Lake was quite rough. And without his professionalism on the training ground, it could have been a lot worse. Probably.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, like Jason, for anybody that knows Jason, he's an absolute professional. And he's one of those guys that, and look, admittedly, I was never in the locker room when Jason was a player because the day of my internship interview with the PR department, I was supposed to meet with the old PR guy, John Coluter, who you probably remember, Spence. Yeah. and I was supposed to meet with Kaluter at a Starbucks. He called me that morning and he said, "Hey, we just fired our coach and hired Jason straight off the field, so I have to go to training today. Can you meet me at training instead?" So my interview happened at training of Jason's first training session as head coach.
Now, was this at the old Zango field, or was it at Rice Eccles?
It was at Rice Eccles.
Okay.
And I was a student at the university at the time, so it was a quick jaunt from my apartment over to Rice Eccles. So that was the day of my interview. But look, if you know Jason, you know that he's a leader. And exactly like you said, those early years of RSL were rough, but they would have been even rougher without his leadership. And it's that leadership that he displayed those first few years, obviously, that convinced Dave Checketts that he was the guy to take the reins.
Absolutely. Elliot, you mentioned Kyle Beckerman earlier. If we would go back, you haven't been the general manager for all that long.
8 months now, is it?
Yeah. When did you take over? What was the official date?
It was at some point in September. I don't know. I don't remember the official date. I will say this: I'm still undefeated in the regular season as a general manager. Proudly,
we can get to that. We can get to that. What I was going to say was the one off season that you had in charge, you were tasked with a very difficult decision of trying to re-sign Kyle Beckerman. I mean, we're talking about a legend, right? And if you make a mistake or two, I mean, the whole Javier Morales fiasco, we don't need to go into that. But, I'm sure that was probably playing in the back of your mind, let's not screw this one up and create all this chaos with the fan base and ownership and whatever else goes into it. But how was that experience for you, I guess, first off-season in to try and navigate through that?
Yeah, I mean, look, we had some hurdles to clear in the first off season. Although I don't know that there's ever going to be an off season where you don't have significant hurdles or challenges. But there was the Kyle one, the Savarino one was a huge one as well. But back on Kyle, look, I'm fortunate to have known Kyle since 2007. About the time I just laid out. Well, we traded for him a couple months after I started as an intern. So I've known Kyle since then. I know Kyle as a person, and he's a good person, and he's a great leader, and he's done unbelievable things for this club. And in conversations internally, we were able to decide really quickly that we wanted Kyle back. Now, there's obviously, a time situation in the off season. Once we ended the season, our season ended, and then we decided we wanted to have Kyle back, but we still, decisions still had to be made about who was, going to have final say and who was going to be involved in those decisions, because we hadn't named a general manager or a head coach officially. Freddie and I were both interims at that point when the season ended. And so by the time we made the official announcement, I think at the very beginning of December, we were then kind of butting up against the holiday season. And so the timing of kind of finalizing all of those decisions, I think made it both made it appear to drag out longer than maybe it needed to. And it also realistically did drag the process out just a little bit, because, it wasn't until then that we could say, okay, guys, this is the official plan and this is what we want to do. We were able to have conversations before that, but we were kind of in limbo. So once we kind of really got down to it, and then Tony Beltran and I went and had a couple meetings with Kyle and just kind of laid out the plans. And, Kyle had a decision to make too. It's not, this wasn't just us deciding whether we wanted to bring Kyle back. It was also, did Kyle want to, come back? Kyle was a free agent. Kyle, what does Kyle want to do with his career? So there were decisions that had to be made everywhere, but we decided real early that we wanted Kyle to be back and we wanted him to be a part of things. And, we're thrilled that we were able to get him back and have him a part of things.
Is part of that the reason to bring him back is it's along the similar lines of bringing Jason Kreis into the club in the first place, because he is immaculate. I mean, not everybody can come down and watch the lads train, but every time I watch Kyle Beckerman, it is 101% on it, and he leads by example. Was that the main reason? at the back end of his career. We know that, and Kyle will admit that. And maybe won't play as many games as he has in his career throughout this year. You never know. But was the main reason behind that because of his leadership qualities?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question they play a significant part of that. I mean, that's who Kyle is. Exactly like you said. I mean, Kyle, the example that Kyle sets for young players, and you know, we've talked about it a million times. We want to be a club that invests in youth and invests in development. And the example that Kyle can bring day in and day out is invaluable. So there's no doubt that's a part of it. But I mean, Kyle has a lot to offer on the field as well. I mean, you know, as we all know, he's seen everything, he's done everything, and he's a fantastic soccer player. So he and look, he's also the heart and soul of our team. You know, he's the heart and soul of our locker room and has been for years. So there is no question that we believe Kyle has a significant role to play on the field for us as well.
How much fun's it been working alongside Tony Beltran this offseason? Is he a wizard or is he a wizard?
He's a wizard in every sense. He's a literal wizard. I think he's obsessed with Harry Potter. So he's he actually gave me a Harry Potter puzzle that my wife and I did like the first week of the quarantine. It took us like 4 weeks to do it because it was the hardest puzzle I've ever seen in my life.
It was only a 12-piece, right?
Yeah. I think 11 because the dog ate one of them. But no. So he's a wizard in that sense, but he's also, you know, he's brilliant. And he's super sharp. He's super professional, as you guys know from Tony in his playing days. He carries himself with class and with dignity. And he is exactly that way in all aspects of his life. And he's bringing an invaluable set of skills to our office. Without him, you know, I think there would have been a lot of the challenging decisions would have been more challenging without his input and without, you know, what he brought to the table.
Do you guys see eye to eye when it comes to player traits, skill sets, abilities, or are you different and that's what makes the relationship gel so well?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of both, right? I mean, nobody sees 100% eye to eye on everything. I would say, generally speaking, we see things similarly, and we want. What I would really say is, at the end of the day, we want the same things from the club. And I don't just mean the generic, you know, we want success, we want a championship. You know, we want to play the same way. We want to see us reach those goals in the same way. You know, by investing in our own and being a part of the community and really allowing the community to drive us to those successes. And so, you know, a lot of that's done with development and youth development. And so what's been really fun is to see Tony come in and, you know, our academy's been, you know, a source of pride of mine for years. I've been here the whole time we've had the academy. I've been able to see it grow and become what it is, and been able at times to play a significant role in that. But to see Tony come in and be the one arguing for academy players to get chances, and for it, you know, to make the bold decision and bank on our youth and bet on ourselves has been a lot of fun. So, you know, as you guys probably know from some of the conversations you have with me at times, I like to play devil's advocate a lot. So a lot of times I will just take the opposite side of the argument anyway. But in the end, yes, we generally see pretty much eye to eye.
Well, I mean, I think you see that from the squad as well. And this is not to blow smoke up your backside. You see a lot of young players that are getting valuable minutes. Jason Ramirez coming in as well to replace Savarino, which was a great trade. Good for Savarino, but good job for you not losing somebody at the end of the season without any money. But then you bring in players like Giuseppe Rossi, like a Justin Meram, that add that not only quality, but MLS know-how in Justin Meram. And it's all about the balance. I thought maybe we're getting a little bit too old, but really, I mean, you look at Justin Glad, you look at Aaron Herrera, and Corey Baird and the other lads that are in the squad, and it just feels like the balance is a little bit better than it was in 2019 for me.
Sure. Yeah. No, I mean, look, you hit there commenting on the balance on kind of one of our key focuses, which is, you know, you have to have balance when you're building a roster. It can't be all young players. It can't be all old, you know, not old is the wrong word, but it can't all be 15-year veterans. You can't have success either way. You've got to have a balance. And so, you know, I think what you do is you really try to invest in some youth, and I think we've got a lot of good youth. You know, you continue to see academy products, and then guys like Jason and Pablo Ruiz, and a lot of young players that we've been able to bring in throughout the years that, you know, that are starting to find their footing, and we think can be, you know, impact players for us now, and even greater impact players in the future. And then you've got the veterans, like you said, the Justin Mearams, who've seen it in MLS day in and day out, the Giuseppe Rossi's, who, I mean, Giuseppe's experience speaks for itself. You know, he's a world-class player, and his experiences. What's been really fun to watch with him is, you know, putting his arm around the young guys and trying to be that, you know, that veteran who's given a little word of wisdom to the young guys on a daily basis and help them in their development. That's been fun to watch. The Kyle Beckermans, the Demir Krylaks, the Marcelo Silvas, the Everton Luizes. I mean, we've got a lot of those guys as well. But then what's really cool, I think, right now is that you're starting to see, you know, we've had some success with young players, and we're starting to see those players now become leaders. So you've got the Justin Glads and the Aaron Herreras and the Corey Bairds, you know, the guys who came up through our academy system, the guys who are invested in this club and know what it means to be an RSL player. But they're not the young guys anymore. And look, they're still young. They're not, by no means have they even reached their peak, am I suggesting? But they've now been around. They've you know, Justin Glad has played 150 professional games. You know, Aaron Herrera has been a starter for 2 years in MLS. Corey Baird as well. These guys know what it is to be an MLS player and to be a professional. So it is really exciting to see them kind of graduate into that middle tier, that because you also have to have that. You have to have those guys who are in the prime of their career, who are, you know, who can week in and week out, you know, lead the group as well. So it's been fun to see kind of that group come together, and the locker room, you know, is in as good a place as I've seen it in a long time, which is fun.
I guess it was pretty well documented, Elliot. The second half of last year, I think you guys were the best defensive team in the entire league. And if you weren't the best, you were certainly top three. But I know a lot of the fans out there, I'm sure you've been asked the question by fans, they want to see more goals. How do you hope RSL can generate more goals if we get a season back in 2020 moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, there's no question to take steps forward. You know, we need to improve in the final third. Now, I think one part of that for us is a lot of those young players that you heard me talking about are guys in the attacking third, and guys, you know, who we all believe can take another step forward. You know, even a guy, Albert Rusnak, who has been here for several years and obviously been fantastic for us. You know, we all think Albert can take another step forward and really be a dominant player in this league. And then you've got, you know, Jason, we're all really excited about. You got, you know, Corey Baird taking another step forward. So I think part of it will be, you know, some additions, you know, a Justin Meram who's done it year in and year out in this league, and having options, guys who know what it takes to score goals and to create chances in this league. But, you know, really bank on our staff as well to continue developing the young players behind them.
Obviously, Friday is coming pretty quickly, which is April 24th. Elliot, with regards to what MLS wants to do with the lads training back into facilities and whatnot. Today, the Bundesliga made a proposal of playing games behind closed doors as soon as May 9th. I know from the conversations that we had with Freddie Juarez last week on the RSL Media Zoom chat, that you're in contact with Bundesliga teams and keeping an eye on things and how they're doing and how they're introducing their players. Any comments on those, or any inclinations of when RSL will be able to maybe start to come back into the facility and train in small groups?
Sure. Yeah. Look, I think like a lot of us, and frankly, a lot of us in every aspect of our daily lives, everything's changed. And I think it's different market to market as well in terms of what can be done, what's safe to do, and when it will be safe to do things. And I mean that both globally and in the United States. So I saw the stuff about the Bundesliga. I think I'm on calls with the league at least once a week, but usually more than that, where there are discussions surrounding ideas. I can't divulge any of those, and none of them are mature to the point that that I feel like there's any set time frame, but I do know that everybody's working really hard to find the best solution, and to get everybody back out there as soon as it's safe to do so. And look, I know that's not the answer everybody wants to hear, but everybody wants some more detail. But the truth is, I just don't think we know it right now. I don't think we are far enough along in the process where both medically and operationally we understand how to best move forward.
All right, Elliot, we mentioned at the top of the show, we had some Twitter questions. Now, as you can probably imagine, a lot of the questions were surrounding the pandemic and when you guys are coming back, and should season ticket holders be worried, et cetera, and your hands are tied. More importantly, you just can't answer them, so we're not going to bother wasting your time with them. But there is one question that I know Spencer, big fan of, and I think you're the right man to ask this question to. Tyler Smith was the man responsible. He says, with only having 2 games, there wasn't time to see any holes in the roster. Do you expect to be active in the transfer market this summer?
That's a great question. We feel really good about where our roster is right now. We feel like we're at least 2 players deep in nearly every single spot. That said, we absolutely will be active in the sense that we're constantly watching players. Our scouting department is always tracking players and in conversations with agents, and a lot of it comes down to being prepared to capitalize on deals that that come available at when appropriate. So I can't definitively answer the question in the sense of, are you going to see us add big players at some point? I don't know. It's possible. We certainly need to see what our roster looks like. And frankly, just like the fans, just like you guys, 2 games, I think we saw some encouraging things in those first 2 games, but we also, it's not a big enough sample size to know yet how, if we have a hole here or if we have a hole there. If you always could, knock on wood, you hope not, but you could suffer an injury or something could happen. So I absolutely would not say that we won't be active in the transfer market, but I don't know exactly what that means.
I guess that's fair. You guys could be undefeated 20 games in, 25 odd games in. You're always looking to get better at the end of the day. So That makes sense. Elliot, we'll let you go. By the way, your wife, is she on the front lines right now?
She is. So my wife, she's a physician assistant. She works in the ICU at the University of Utah. So she is most definitely on the front lines and, really holding it down. And, seeing her come home from work reminds me every day that, we all, though we get stressed and there's a lot going on in our lives, in a lot of ways, we have it easy. We don't have to deal with, the real ugly side of things at times, and that ugly side of things exists. So definitely a shout out to everybody on the front lines out there. I don't have all the perspective, but I do have some level of perspective on what you guys are putting into it. And it means a lot to all of us.
You have more perspective than most of us. We'll send her around love. Thank you for all her work that she's doing. And I hope you guys stay safe. This was fun. Hopefully not too daunting for you, Elliot,
I love it. Let's do it. Let's do it regularly.
Okay, let's do it regularly. We'll be nice. We'll be gentle. And once again, we appreciate for you just spending a few minutes.
Spencer's never nice and gentle.
I know, he's Hackett.
One day we're gonna have to tell the story about when I told him he had fake designer shoes on at the office. We'll tell that story on here.
Yeah, we won't. It's fine. I still makes me cringe. Anyway.
All right. That's funny. We'll get to it next time, but that's the Lions Den. We'll be back next week. And Elliot, once again, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.